Japan head coach Eddie Jones has urged Steve Borthwick to consider bold but calculated changes ahead of England's pivotal round 4 clash against Italy national rugby union team in the 2026 Six Nations Championship. Speaking after England's bruising defeat to Ireland at Twickenham, Jones delivered a typically frank assessment of his former side, questioning selection decisions, leadership clarity, and tactical direction. With England's title hopes hanging by a thread, the veteran coach believes that decisive action, rather than subtle tweaks, may be required to steady the ship. Pollock's role under the microscope, one of Jones' most eye-catching observations, centered on 21-year-old forward Henry Pollock. The young back rower has been widely praised for his explosive cameos off the bench in previous tests, but against Ireland he was handed a starting role, and the impact was noticeably muted. Jones offered a colorful comparison. "Pollock is like Bobby Skinstad," he said in the Rugby Unity podcast, referencing the dynamic former Springbok. "Good-looking, always got a suntan, and can play. But he's one of those blokes who can play for 20 minutes. It was classic Jones, blunt, provocative, and rooted in a tactical argument. The Japan boss was not dismissing Pollock's talent. Far from it. Instead, he questioned whether the young forward is best utilized as a high-impact substitute rather than an 80-minute starter. Jones expanded on the point by highlighting the difference between grind players and impact players. At test level, he argued, starting forwards must embrace the unseen work. Relentless tackling, ruck clean-outs, repeated carries into heavy traffic. While Pollock's speed, instincts, and attacking awareness make him a dangerous weapon, Jones suggested those strengths are amplified against tired defenses late in games. Maybe that's not the best job for him, Jones said of the starting shirt. The implication is clear. England may have misjudged how to deploy one of their brightest prospects. The leadership question beyond individual selection. Jones turned his focus to England's leadership structure, an area he believes must be addressed immediately. Firstly, you've got to have a good chat with the leaders and find out what they think, he advised. The center of that conversation is Captain Maro Itoje. Substituted in the 54th minute against Ireland after a subdued performance, Itoje looked a shadow of his dominant best. Questions have arisen not only about his physical condition, but also his emotional well-being following the recent passing of his mother. Jones acknowledged the human element, emphasizing that leadership in elite sport extends beyond tactical calls. You've got Maro. Can you get him right to play against Italy? That's got to be the first question, because the captain's going to be the most important. The captain sets emotional tone, physical standards, and mental resilience. If Itoje is not fully ready, physically or mentally, England must consider how to support him or whether to temporarily redistribute leadership responsibilities. Sorting the dressing room dynamics. Jones also hinted at a subtler, but equally important issue: team cohesion. There'll be a bit of self-interest floating around the team now, too. You got to sort that out. It's a telling remark. When results falter, players can subconsciously focus on individual performance, protecting contracts, reputations, or selection chances, rather than collective clarity. Jones suggested that Borthwick must quickly identify who is fully aligned with the team's direction and who might be drifting. He singled out senior figures such as Ellis Genge and George Ford as players whose influence could be pivotal in stabilizing the group. England's recent inconsistency has not necessarily been about effort. Rather, it has been about cohesion and execution. Jones' prescription is straightforward: clarify roles, reaffirm leadership, and simplify strategy. A case for Henry Slade. Perhaps the most intriguing suggestion from Jones was the potential recall of Henry Slade. Slade has not featured for England since the Autumn Nations Series victory over Argentina, yet his resume includes more than 70 test caps and extensive experience in high-pressure environments. Jones believes that bringing him back into the fold could restore communication and composure within a backline. I'm just thinking maybe Henry Slade coming in is a brilliant player, a good communicator, might give him some solidarity within the team. Slade's value lies not just in his tactical kicking and distribution, but in his defensive organization and calm presence. Against a disciplined Italian side, clarity in midfield defense and attack could prove decisive. Back to basics against Italy. While Italy are often viewed as underdogs in the Six Nations, Recent seasons have shown they are capable of unsettling complacent opponents. Jones cautioned against overcomplication. You'll need a pretty simple team against Italy, and it'll be back to basics. That means territory, discipline, set-piece efficiency, and defensive accuracy, fundamentals that have long defined successful England sides. Overly intricate attacking shapes or experimental combinations, Jones implied, may only add confusion at a time when clarity is paramount. England's defeat to Ireland exposed structural weaknesses and decision-making lapses. Against Italy, Jones believes the solution is not reinvention but recalibration. Tactical tweaks, not wholesale change. Jones did not advocate sweeping changes. Instead, he recommended mucking around with the selection a little bit to fortify the team. That approach suggests 2 or 3 targeted adjustments rather than a radical overhaul. Restore Pollock to a bench impact role. Reintroduce Slade for experience. Ensure Itoje's leadership is supported. Simplify the game plan. The broader message is that England do not need to panic, but they do need to act decisively. Psychological reset perhaps more than any tactical insight. Jones' comments underscore the psychological dimension of elite rugby. After a heavy defeat, the challenge is as much mental as physical. Players must rediscover belief. Leaders must project calm. Coaches must balance honesty with encouragement. Jones' blueprint is rooted in conversation and accountability. Speak to the leaders, assess the mood, address self-interest, then define a clear and simple plan. The defining fixture for Borthwick. The Italy match represents more than just another fixture. It is an opportunity to demonstrate adaptability and authority. Does he persist with experimental selections, trusting long-term development? Or does he lean into experience and pragmatism to secure a confidence-restoring win? Jones' public advice adds an extra layer of scrutiny, but it also reflects a shared understanding of the pressures surrounding the England job. Having coached England himself, Jones knows the intensity of Twickenham expectations. The road ahead England's Six Nations campaign remains salvageable, but momentum must shift quickly. Italy, buoyed by incremental progress in recent years, will not be intimidated. A disciplined, structured England performance is essential. Jones' message is ultimately constructive. He sees potential in the squad, but believes role clarity and leadership recalibration are urgent priorities. Simplify, strengthen, support the captain, deploy impact players wisely. Restore experienced communicators. That if Borthwick can implement those adjustments, England may yet steady their campaign. If not, questions about selection strategy and squad balance will only intensify. In the unforgiving theater of the Six Nations, response matters as much as preparation. England's next 80 minutes could define not only their tournament prospects, but the trajectory of Borthwick's tenure. And as Eddie Jones has made clear, sometimes the hardest decisions about roles, leadership, and identity are the ones that shape the biggest turnarounds.